Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on FifthDimensionRadio.com here in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. And that means it's time for 10 Cent Beer Night, the official sports show of Fifth Dimension Radio, every Wednesday, 7:30, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Seth.
I'm Bob.
And we're filming here on Monday the 7th for Wednesday the 9th here. So all our information is on Monday the 7th. And I bring that up because we have a final. Oh, I should say a final matchup, excuse me, not like the actual final, but we have a matchup for the college basketball men's championship. Last night, Connecticut beat up South Carolina, so they won it all there for the women's. For the women's team there. Women's Buffalo won NIT though.
Did they really?
Yeah, from the MAC. So
yeah.
Buffalo from the MAC. So yeah, they won the NIT there. But your matchup for the men's is going to be Houston and Florida. And Houston with an incredible comeback against Duke. I mean, absolutely impressive. Everything had to go right to make it happen, and it did. I mean, we're talking about like with 51 seconds left, Duke had a 91% chance of winning, and diminished within seconds. So. Who would you get in this matchup, do you think, Bob?
I'll take Houston. I like Houston.
I'm going to take Houston, too.
Because I took Houston in my brackets.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I'm going to take Houston as well. They do everything right. They don't give up. The team's got some great chemistry. The players do with each other. They look like they've been prepared every game. Florida, don't worry about it. It's going to be a great game. Florida's been a great team. This is not going to be a blowout by any means. This is going to come down to the wire. But I think Houston's going to edge them out. I really like how they're looking going into the final. And I do think Florida's going to get their run for their money. And this is the best Florida team we've seen since Billy Donovan was coach, too.
I had my bracket. I had Houston and Duke in the finals. But got one of them.
All right. How did you have... You had them in the final?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Duke and
well, they played each other in the Final Four, though.
Duke and...
Houston, yeah. Duke lost to Houston.
Oh, that's who they lost to?
Maybe you had them both in the Final Four, but you couldn't have them.
I had them both in Final Four.
You couldn't have them in the final there, but yeah, I get you. But hey, good pick. So overall,
I don't know.
You got it right.
I don't know.
I honestly had Duke win it all, especially with
my bracket was broke day one. I took Akron over Arizona.
There you go. With Cooper Flag and everybody in there, I thought Duke was going to run away with it this year. They just looked really good. I mean, there was no denying. But Houston, I mean, they earned the win there. So by the time you listen to this, you'll already know who won. But that's who we're going to be taking there. So
when's the final? Monday night?
It's tonight, yeah.
Monday night.
It's yeah. Let me make sure because I thought yes, it is 8:50 p.m. on CBS, and Florida's 1-point favorites.
Who won the NIT? Anybody know that? Who's in the final for that one?
Let me see.
Because at one time the NIT was the premier tournament. Before money got involved, and that's what the NCAA tournament is—a money thing. So at one time, the National Invitational Tournament (NIT) was the top 32 schools in the country were invited to it. Before the NCAA got involved.
Right, let me see here. NIT. It was between Chattanooga and UC Vine, and Chattanooga won.
UC Irvine?
UC Irvine, yeah. So there you go. That's who. Yeah, and they won by 1 point. So.
It's a good game then.
Yeah, it must have been.
Anytime 1 point. I see your Cavaliers won by 1 point the other night.
Right. Well, we're about to talk about that real quick. So I pretty much good week overall. I called it. I said I could see them going 2-1, and that's exactly what they did. We'll start with Wednesday night. The Knicks had a lead, and the Cavs eliminated it. They won 124-105, and those Knicks were not happy. But that night, this is where it gets big. The Boston Celtics lost to the Miami Heat. So that helps set things up to get a little closer for the Cavs. Cavs then Friday night win in San Antonio 114 to 113. That game, for the record, San Antonio is a good team, okay? They got a lot of good pieces. Next year they're going to be even better, especially if everybody can stay healthy, including Greg Popovich himself. The issue is the Cavs got too comfortable. They started. Darius Garland was even saying they'll get these leads and they'll start taking riskier shots more than they should because they think, okay, we have this lead, we can start taking chances, and if we hit them, the lead gets bigger. Well, if you're not hitting those shots, look at the result Friday night. They came back. They missed the game-winning layup. The Spurs did, and Cavaliers walked away with the win there. I was at last night's game, which is the one they lost. So they're a game away. They're a win away from clinching the first seed. That's the update here. They could have done it last night. They lost 113 to 120. And here was my thoughts with it. Is first, again, the Kings, similar to the Spurs, this is not a bad team by any means. Kings got a lot of talent. My issue with the Kings is they should be better than what they are now, but that's besides the point. No, I mean, Kings, I don't know how they're going to look next year, but as of right now, I could see them they're fighting for a play-in spot, and I could see them potentially getting it. The issue was with the Cavs, especially the first half, too many stupid shots. I'm not against, I get it, like the 3-point shot is big in today's collegiate and pro basketball game. However, my thing is, I'd rather you move the ball around and find the best shot than just throw up a three. And they were doing that. Like, they were taking it down the court, had the ball for 2 seconds, and, like, Darius Garland's more famous for Mitchell does it too, and just threw up a three. Not technically wide open. And then
you live by the three, you die by the three.
Right. Well, if you're not playing smart and you're missing these chances, that's going to hurt you in the end, and it did. And too many turnovers. Turnovers were ugly last night. I mean, just absolutely ugly. Missed opportunity after missed opportunity. Didn't do very well from the free throw line. On top of it, I will say the officiating was bad last night. Was very, very bad. There was even, I'll defend, it was close and it could be the right call, but I also believe in close calls with the shot clock with under 2 minutes, every shot should be reviewed. And I'm talking about, like, within, if they threw it up in time before the shot clock. I'm not saying every shot, but, like, every shot close. Because Zach LaVine hits a layup last night, which was a huge layup for the Kings at that time. And they were showing the fans on the big scoreboard. He did not get it off in time. Now, when you saw it live, you thought, oh, he just got it off. So in the ref's defense, they didn't see it. But in Atkinson's defense, he didn't really see it either. Because it looked like, being there, he just got it off in time. But, see, I think that stuff should be reviewed because that would have been huge to say, hey, we got to take that off the board because he did not get off. And they would have been down by 2 going to their basket. And it was a whole different situation there.
I didn't watch it, so.
I mean, you didn't miss much either. There was a minor scare. Donovan Mitchell was on the ground holding his ankle. However, he came back in the game and he was perfectly fine. So I don't know if it was just a, what do you call it?
It's probably a little sprain or something. It's just nothing.
Sprain.
He walked it off, and
he came back. He was running and everything. I mean, yeah, he came back.
And then again, he wanted to excite the crowd. He
right.
wanted people to. That's
Right. Yeah. Something. We don't think anybody touched him. We think he was going to run because they had just gotten a rebound or something at the time. And we think he turned around real fast. He stepped on it weird, and whatever happened there. But
how'd you see it? You're up there in Loudville.
Lower Loudville.
You see that far?
Yeah, I got a TV angle, opposite TV angle. So yeah, I got some.
The last couple times I've been up there, I've been in the nosebleed section.
Yeah, I'm not quite in the nosebleed there. I got a good. I got some good seats there. And that was my last one too for the year.
The playoffs coming.
Yeah, playoffs are coming.
You get a deal on playoffs, don't you?
I do, but they're gonna raise the prices, and it's still, yeah, I get early bird at 1% off, but it's still expensive at the end of the day. Yeah, it's gonna be. But I bring it because all this up. They're going to be okay. I rather them lose now than get too confident going into the playoffs and then lose there. But they do need to get it together. And I would say defensively last night was not bad at all. They forced a lot of turnovers. They did. I would say Max Strus and Isaac Okoro were very impressive last night. But so both those guys played defense and moved the ball very well. They were overall impressive. It's offensively they just got to be smart, and they are better than that. We've seen it. This is the most efficient offense rating in the NBA. They're number one in the league. They got to just move the ball and find the best shot. Just don't throw up a shot to throw up a shot. Now, if the shot clock's about to run out, that's a whole different story. But you got to be passing the ball around well, and they passed the ball I thought very well in the fourth quarter. But that was it. If they did that the first 3 quarters, they would have won that game last night.
So they're one game away from clinching?
One win. Yeah, one win. The magic number's 1 there. So this week, by the time you hear this, you already know they played the Bulls. Hopefully, by the time you hear this, they've already clinched because that's the game they should win. Bulls are trying to fight for a play-in spot.
Do they got to win and Boston's got to lose? Or
No, they have to win.
So it's they're one game out.
Yeah,
last I looked, they were 5 games ahead.
They're 4 games ahead of Boston.
Okay.
There's 4 games left. Yeah, they're 1 win away from.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, it's 1. Yeah.
Okay.
No, the magic number's 1. Because Boston losing to Miami really helped. So they play the Bulls Tuesday night. By the time you listen to this, it's already been decided, and hopefully it better be a win. That's a team. This is a team they better win. There is no because here's what's coming up the rest of the week. Okay, this is why they can't rest skip. Thursday night they're at the Pacers. TNT's picked this up. Max, HBO Max has also picked it up. They're going to be at Indiana, and this is the team. If you want, let's push Boston aside. Outside of Boston, who am I concerned with in the Eastern Conference for the Cavs? This is Indiana. This is the team that Indiana is good enough to beat anybody. They didn't quite. I'm gonna pull up the standings here. They're 4th. They did clinch their playoff spot. They're 47-31. Some people thought, including myself, thought they were gonna be a little better this year. If you had told me between the Cavs and Pacers who had 62 wins and who had 47, I probably would have told you Cavs would have had the 47. And the Pacers, because the Pacers were going to come in really good this year, and they have done well. But there was just some games early on, especially with some injuries, they just weren't themselves, and they lost those games. So they're at Indiana Thursday. Friday they're at New York against the Knicks on NBA TV. Knicks do not want to be swept by Cleveland. That's the position right there, and they're at home. So, and then you come back Sunday at home against Indiana. Indiana comes to Cleveland. Okay, beat Chicago, lock the first seed up. That way, it's out of the way. You can relax a little bit and don't put the pressure on yourself. There's no reason to lose to Chicago. There just isn't. They should be able to beat Chicago here. It's sweep Chicago.
Let's hope that Ricky can light it up.
Why?
Ricky Freeman. An Akron boy.
I know, but
if they clinch it, who cares?
The last game of the season, sure, he could light it up. That's fine. But I'm worried. I don't want them to blow this because if they blow this up,
the regular season don't mean nothing.
No, but what does matter is and what you're not thinking.
What do you mean about?
What you're not thinking about. Excuse me.
Especially the NBA when you got half the teams make the playoffs and they ain't even. You've got 16 teams in each in each conference, and 10 of them makes the playoffs.
To rephrase, what you need to consider is Cleveland's had first place all season long. If they last second lose 5 in a row and give it to Boston, Boston's going to have a huge momentum shift, and you can forget about all the.
Well, you know me. I'm from Cleveland. I've had my heart broken so many times I don't even know how to hit.
I'll tell you this, this team's different. It is different. It is different this time around.
I thought our 2016 tribe was different too.
They were. I mean, they made it to the World Series, and with better decision making, they could have won it. But that's a whole other story. But I mean, like, look at all the records they have broken. Look at the way they've been playing all year. I mean, they have an answer for everything. But I think they're a little overconfident right now, and they need to get back to earth and just realize that, look, losing once in a while, that's one thing. But you only get so many chances in the playoffs. And they're going to need to recognize that going in to the playoffs, and then you just need to get mentally better. And what I do like right now, Kenny Atkinson is not just brushing this off his shoulder. He is letting them know they have to go out there and compete harder and have a better attitude.
If they clinch, why would you want to play all the starters?
They do with Jared Allen's contract. They do have to at least play him. But
then get a kid play the last game of the season, breaks his ankle or whatever like that. They clinched tonight. I wouldn't even. My bench would be playing the whole rest of the season.
Well, they got a good bench.
So
we'll see about that there. So
I just don't believe in. I mean, every team does it.
Right. So this is what it's looking like right now, because there's been big updates since our last 10-cent beer night on the NBA playoff position. The first 6 seeds have clinched, and it looks like that they're going to stay the first 6. So Cavs, of course, they have to clinch the first seed, but they have clinched playoffs. Celtics have clinched, Knicks clinched, Pacers clinched, Bucks clinched, and JB Bickerstaff's Pistons clinched too. So they're in the conversation there for the play-in. Magic, Hawks, Bulls, and Heat right now are the 7 through 10. Okay, and that's probably going to stay that way too, because there's like about 4 or 5 games left. Raptors are 11th seed with 29 wins. That's not enough, so they could win out this week and it wouldn't matter. So that we pretty much know how the East is looking like. We're just looking for the final seeding there. For the West, it's still a battle.
Yeah,
it's the Thunder have clinched the first there. They clinched the conference too. Okay, Rockets got clinched the second seed there. Okay, you got Lakers, Nuggets, Clippers, Warriors. That's your top 6 right there. However, Warriors and the Clippers have 46 wins. They're 46-32. The 7th and 8th seed Timberwolves and Grizzlies are also 46-32. Okay, so it's getting a little close there in the West. You have the Kings at 38-40 at 9th seed, so that last night's victory was huge for them. You have the Mavericks who are 38-41. By the way, Kings are along with the Houston Rockets are the only 2 West teams that swept the Cavs this year. And then for the Suns and the Blazers, each have 35 wins. It still could, as of now, sneak up in there. Now, if the Mavericks and Kings win one more game, you can pretty much forget about it. Yeah. But the Suns and Blazers are still talking. And I just got a notification a little bit ago. Blazers GM just got a contract extension. So no matter what the Blazers do, they're moving forward with him. And they're going to be trying to build on what they did this year and improve and become one of the better young teams next year, which I think they will be. But so, yeah, for the West Coast, the seeding's going to be all over. At the end, we're going to know at the end of the week. But it's gonna be crazy on the West. But the East, we pretty much have an idea what's going on there. All right.
Yep.
Hey, we gotta take a break. When we come back, we're gonna be talking baseball. Guards did not have the greatest week this past week, but we're gonna be talking about what they have this upcoming week as they play some American League Central Division foes. Stay tuned. And welcome back to our second segment on today's 10-cent beer night. And of course, we're going to be switching focus to baseball because we got Baseball Bob here. You know, he's been patiently
Hey, Bob,
waiting.
you a baseball fan over there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, there you go. Guards did not have the greatest week last week. They did get swept by the Padres there, who are very good this year in their defense. So, think the closest game was 2-5. Was Wednesday night's game. That was the closest. The other they got shut out 7-0, and then the Monday night was 7-2. They go on against the Anaheim Angels, and actually they lost 2 out of 3. Friday night though they did win 8-6. Jose Ramirez with 3 home runs in that game, and he has tied Jim Thome and Albert Bell for most multi-home runs in franchise history. So, one more multi-home run game, and that record is his. So that's something to look out for this year, because that could realistically
That's a
happen.
big names to be with.
Yeah, it really is. I'm shocked Manny wasn't in that conversation there that high. But I mean, Manny, what was he? He was only here probably 6 years before he took off for Boston.
He wasn't here. Yeah, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. But then they lost to Anaheim 4-10 on Saturday night. Bybee did not look like himself, and then lost 2-6 on Sunday night there. So moving ahead, by the time you hear this, you know they've already played one game on MLB Network against the White Sox, but they do play at home for opening day.
Opening day. Are we going to get snowed out?
We'll see.
I mean, they're calling for some snow.
We'll definitely see that they are playing again the White Sox. Last year the White Sox were just bad. This year they're a game worse than the Guards. But some of their games, even some of their losses, were not too bad.
I ain't worried about April. I mean, the Guardians, Indians, or whatever you want to call them, they've always traditionally they have a losing record in April. Like I said, last year they was losing record in April. They won the division.
Right.
So I mean, let's just don't. It's early, 162 games. Come July, if they're doing like this in July, then I'd worry.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I look for in July them to be right there in the thick of things. So
there you go. Well, let's hope so. Next weekend this coming weekend, after the White Sox series, it's just a 3-game series at home against the White Sox. They are going to play the Kansas City Royals again at home. I'm
going to tell you what that Royals batting lineup is. I love that middle lineup.
It's going to be tough. Now, they did win their series last time against them, so there's a chance they could have a good week this week going up against the lowly White Sox and then going up against Kansas City there. And again, they are at home, and they did very well at home last year. And they haven't been at home this year, so this could be a whole different week.
That's the first time I can remember them starting the road, a 9-game road trip.
Right.
Start the season.
The following series after this weekend, because it starts before our next 10-set beer night, so I'm going to mention it. They are going to be at Baltimore against the Orioles, which is going to be tough. Let's see how they do this week, but I will mention TBS picked up Tuesday's game. So they're on national TV against Baltimore there, so that should be a fun one. So we'll talk more about the Baltimore games next week. But there's a lot of fans really just upset. Again, we're only, 10 games in or so.
It's early.
Yeah, it is. I will tell you, it changed of pace. Late last night, like late, it was like 1 a.m. Mark Shapiro offered and got accepted his biggest contract he's ever offered a player last night. And that's the former Cleveland Indians GM and president. He's now with the Blue Jays. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. signed a 14-year, $500 million extension late last night to keep him there. I know the Red Sox and Yankees were rumored to try to, because he was going to be a free agent.
Talking about Toronto, right?
Yeah.
So that $5 million contract's $4 million.
$400 million.
It's $400 million.
Yeah, because of tax.
Canadian funds.
Canadian funds, yeah. I mean, when you're right there. So, I mean, unless the team somehow is going to cover that, which, I mean, that's $100 million of tax, and I don't want to imagine that. But my point is, if you're Mark Shapiro, it feels good to have an owner who's willing to dish out the money. They were in the talks with Ohtani, and actually they made the final 3 before he signed with the Dodgers. Blue Jays were heavy in those conversations. They even had tried to have conversations with Roki Sasaki over the rookie star pitcher for the Dodgers from Japan. They were trying to get him over LA, and I guess they were in the final between the two teams. So Blue Jays have been trying to spend. This time they kept a key piece. and extend him
I'm going
long
to
term.
defend the Dolans. We are a small market team. We don't make a lot of money. They don't. The payroll's low, but last year, we just it was like they think it had it on the and the other day I seen it. Our payroll was $79 million. They grossed $102 million. So we had like $30 million to work with. And we're a small market team. So City of Cleveland's only 350,000 people.
Right.
You got the city of Toronto is over 1 million. We can't compete with them. I don't care what the ownership is. We don't got that kind of backing money wise.
They would if ownership was better.
They still got to make the money.
Right. And how you make the money is you got to coax fans to come in.
And they're getting the fans. They are getting the fans.
Yes and no.
We made money the Tribe made money last year. Guardians.
But that's part of the problem right there. They
made money last year. That's what the goal is, to make money. Period.
Right. Here,
you don't want to lose money. You want to make money.
Here's my argument here. One, I know people are tired of hearing probably us bring it up. Anybody that listens consistently to the show, the name change is still in effect with the it is. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that will not pay to go see the team over that. They're not going to pay for the merchandising. They will find the merchandising elsewhere, which there's still, believe it or not, there's still Indians merch being sold elsewhere.
Yeah.
And no, that is a big deal because it's part of remember when they started the Guardians TV thing and they were going to do streaming only, we were just talking about a couple weeks ago. And then all of a sudden, they backed out 24 hours before
because nobody don't want to pay for it.
Right.
I mean, nobody. I don't care if you're a rich guy. If you show used to free TV, you're going to watch free TV.
Right.
You're not going to pay for it.
I don't disagree.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The future is streaming.
Right.
Period. It's going to be someday. It's going to be nothing but streaming. You got, you got all these smart TVs now and stuff out there. You can everything's good. Eventually, so there ain't going to be no free. Government says you have to have free airway. But eventually, someday, it ain't going to be no free airway. You're going to be paying for everything.
I don't disagree. Here's my point I'm trying to make. If the Browns had done that, or even the Cavaliers had done that, they probably would have stuck with it. Because they would have had enough people sign on. And I don't think I don't think the love's the same. Dolan also took away seats. This is the smallest stadium in the league. He made it even smaller. I'm actually curious to see how many seats they compare to the Sacramento AAA stadium the A's play at now. Because I was watching highlights on that.
But you know what? They can play the other night, so it was Sunday, they had 11,000 people in Sacramento.
Right.
To see the A's. First of all, that's not Oakland area.
Right.
That's 200 miles away from Oakland.
Right.
So those people, they're going to be closer to probably a an LA program than they are Sacramento.
Right.
But you can't compare that. I mean,
right. Well, here's
they couldn't even get draw 11,000 at a 1,000 seat stadium.
No. Partially because ownership was that bad. It goes back to the ownership argument. He takes out more seats. He even downgrades the seats he already had. Mind you, we're going to talk a little more of the Akron Rubber Ducks here in a little bit. They upgraded their seats last year. They had better seats than the Major League team did last year. I'm talking physical, comfy seats. And Cleveland downgraded theirs, and they cut out more. They cut out even more seats this past off season on top of that, okay? He lowered the price of tickets. On paper, that sounds great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against cheap tickets. Not at all. The issue is he did it a few years ago. This was the second year going into the Guardians' name. And this is why this is important. The sales for the first year did not do so well. They did okay. Not bad. but they didn't do as well as they normally did, and the people were because I remember they were very competitive. Excuse me, that August they actually made the playoffs that first year as the Guardians, and people were complaining. You had Andre Knott, the sideline reporter, going, "Where are the fans of these games? This team's in first place." People were mad. They're mad. They're not coming out to the games.
Yeah.
So what happens?
I don't see that.
The second that's what happened.
A true baseball fan ain't gonna give. I'm sorry, ain't gonna care about the name of a team. They're gonna go out there to watch baseball.
That's what happened though in that first year. And I'm bringing this up because you go into the second year. Okay, going into May of that second year with that name, the sales were looking even worse than they were the year before. So he has to push the panic button. So what does he do? He brings down the price of most of the seating, mainly bleachers, right field there. Some not necessarily your close first row seats, but like the places where it's a good spot, but you're a little far out. But he lowers it to a price that we have been crying for since the mid 2000s. Okay. And he does that. Now, as a result, okay, now more people can go to get, which is great. There's a lot of good people that take advantage of that, okay? Don't get me wrong. However, there was another issue that was brought on. We were talking with fans last year. And when me and a couple people on the internet, because we were noticing a similar theme. The cheap seats attracted fans that, would buy the cheap seats and then spend a lot more money on drinking, which on paper sounds like, oh, well, this sounds like a Browns game. Well, they're treating it like a Browns game, too. And before the second inning...
The money's in concessions.
Right. Well, I have no problem with people drinking beer or having concessions. But these people are drunk by the second inning, and there's been more fights in that stadium. There's been more problems, and to the point, there's season ticket holders saying...
But that's anywhere you have alcohol.
It's increasing though. That's it. It has happened now and then at that stadium and other stadiums as well. This isn't like anything new, but it's being more repetitive than it's ever been, to the point that there's been season ticket holders out in those areas of those seats that said, I'm talking about not renewing, because he said it's embarrassing to take my kid to that game and them seeing all this attitude.
To me, it's embarrassing going to a football game. So.
Well, that's not a family event, though. The NFL game's not a family event, where baseball should be, and even, I go to Cavs games, I got Cavs package and everything. Alcohol is expensive, but they sell a good variety of alcohol there. It's still a family environment, and they warn you, they say, if you start acting up, we have to do something. And I've seen it in the playoffs with Knicks fans, which is why I'm so happy they have their number this year. Where things got a little rowdy, things were said, and people had to be warned, hey, if you don't stop, we have to remove you from the premises, okay? So I'm bringing all this up because it's like, I get it. Well, for you kind of lit the match defending them. But it's like, here's my point with the Dolans and the mid-market team and everything. You would have done better if you would have handled things better in the past. Okay, it's not even just the name change. It's not just that. That is still a factor. 5 years out, I think it's the fourth or fifth season of being the. This is the fourth season of being the Guardians. But it's like there were players that you could have got in free agency that were in your price range. You didn't, and you should have got. I will now say it was good they didn't get Jerkson Profar from the Braves. Got him. He's been suspended 80 games for substance, so that was a good thing they didn't go out and get him. And I get the other part too is let's be honest here. There's a chance we have plenty of season to go this year. There's a lot of talent on this team before we jump the gun. This team had a lot of prospects that were not only ready, but needed to play now. They needed to be thrown out there and said, you're going to make your mistakes, whatever, but you need to play, And so they went on and moved on from a Josh Naylor and an Andres Jimenez to make that happen. Also because it was to free up cap. And I do think the big move's coming. I'm telling you, Stephen Kwan is going to sign an extension soon. I'm calling it right now, because just the moves from the off season, and they want to do something to make the fans happy, and now's the time. Sign him before he asks for too much. Because you look at the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. deal. You look there was somebody else who just recently, I have to look it up. There was a younger Jackson Merrill, Rookie of the Year for the Padres. He just signed a big deal for, it was probably like 12, 14 years, 200 some million. And they got him to do that before he could ask for it even, because this guy, he's probably, at the rate he's going, and there's still a lot of ball left before we decide that, he could be a very special player, and he could have probably asked for 500 million down the road. You know what I mean? So they locked him up before he could ask for that money. So I think they're going to do that with Stephen Kwan too. But there was starting pitchers they could have got at their price range. There was so many options, and they didn't do it. And again, I get it. They needed to get some guys going there.
Dolan don't have all that. I mean, Dolan's got the control, but you got the front office runs the business.
Right, and you know how I feel about them these days. I mean,
I look at all the Cleveland sports teams. Even Browns front office sucks. So
they've got a tough off season ahead. I mean, they had a hit on this draft, or it's going to be probably curtains for some of those. You know,
It's a typical Cleveland team. Period. Yeah, I don't have no. I hope and pray that they win, but I don't keep it. You know, I'm so used to being shot down.
Right.
You was too young, but I remember the fumble and the drive.
Right. I was not around at all.
Yeah.
For that one.
I remember the Browns had it one. Elway goes down the field 90 yards. We would have went to the Super Bowl 3 times. We could have probably been in the Super Bowl.
Well, we do have some Browns thing to talk about. Speaking of that kind of stuff, but real quick, I do want to give out the standings before we end this segment. In the AL Central, Tigers are ahead 5-4. Royals 4-5. Twins and Guardians 3-6. And White Sox 2-7 there. In the East, AL East, Yankees are 6-3. Red Sox are 6-4. Red Sox had a good week this past week. Blue Jays are 5-5. Rays and Orioles are 4-5. Actually, Orioles are 4-6. Rays are 4-5. On the West Coast, Rangers coming in hot, 8-2. The Angels are 6-3 with a surprisingly good start. Astros at 4-5. A's at 4-6, and Mariners at 3-7. In the National League, real quick, on the East, Phillies with a great start, 7-2. Beat the Dodgers in a series this past weekend. Mets are 6-3. Marlins 5-4. In third right now, I mean, look at kind of saw Nationals are 3-6. Braves are 1-8, and the Bats are just not rolling like they were hoping to. In the NL Central, Cubs are 7-5 in the lead there. Brewers are 5-5. Cardinals are 4-5. Reds and Pirates are 3-7. And the West Coast, Giants are 8-1 after a great week this past week, winning 7 in a row, and they're in first place. Their Dodgers are 9-2. Finally lost their game, their first 2 games against Philadelphia. There, Padres are 8-2, also with a red hot start. Diamondbacks are 5-5, and Rockies are 2-7. Rockies are going to be a mess. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little more baseball. But Browns got some good news last week. More historically than anything current, but still counts. We'll be back and talk about that. And we'll go back to our last segment of this 10-cent beer night here on FitTheBitchRadio.com. I'm Seth.
I'm Bob.
And the Akron Rubber Ducks. Dude, home opener tomorrow night. You've invited me out to it. They're going to be at home all week. They are 3-0 to start the season. They were away there. I cannot pull up for the life of me.
I know that kid that was the number 1 draft pick. God, I can't think of his name.
Joe Bazana.
Hit a home run the other night.
Yeah, he had his first home run there. It's pulling up there. They played Richmond. They were at Richmond, Virginia.
The Flying Squirrels.
The Flying Squirrels there, yeah. So they'll be at Altona's coming into Akron here. I mean, when we go, there are going to be fireworks, Bob. There's also Tall Boy Tuesday. That's something new they're going to have.
Oh, man, Tall Boy Tuesday.
So there you go.
I don't drink no more.
Most of their games,
but I don't drink less either.
Most of their games start 6:30, 6 o'clock there. But yeah, they'll play Altoona all week, and that's for those that don't realize, because it's like the second year they've done this. This is the new minor league baseball thing. They'll play one team, one location for a full week. It's to cut down on cost of travel, since the minor leaguers complained to Rob Manfred a few years ago about not getting paid enough, always on the run, and all this. So they changed some things up. So they're on Daytona this week, and next week they're going to be in Erie, Pennsylvania all week. And I've always kind of wanted to, if I don't know if I would do it in the month of April when things are still a little cold, but wanted to go to Erie just to see them play, just to be the.
Let's go back to you said they complained to Rob Manfred. That was a union thing.
Well, yeah, they talked to Manfred about it, though. Yeah.
But the players associations, it's a written rule in the players associations.
Right.
Because just because these kids are minor leaguers, they're still signed with the major league club, and they still got to honor the arbitration thing of the Major League Baseball players. So, yeah, that was put in there by the player association, so these kids would have more of a rest, so they wouldn't have to travel as much.
Right.
That wasn't put in for because they wanted it. That was put in the.
Well, they complained. There was complaints the previous season before they made the new agreement.
But you know what? I traveled a lot. Didn't bother me none. It didn't bother me to play a game and then get on the bus and go to the next stadium.
Right.
You know, it's the union did this. The union made the kids weaker. We were tough. These kids today are weak. That's we had no problem traveling. We ate and slept on the bus 90% of the time.
How did you think Tim Tebow felt when he was playing minor league baseball after all those years making millions playing football? I mean, he's still.
Well, we think about Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
All the millions he made playing basketball. Went to minor leagues and made hardly nothing. And he was so mad about the traveling that he bought a team bus for the Birmingham Barons or whatever that team was.
Yeah.
He bought him a brand new bus. You know, so here's a minor league baseball player buying a brand new bus, probably $1 million bus.
At the time, yeah.
I mean, so that's going to tell you that he did the traveling with the team.
Absolutely. So no disagreement there. But that's your Akron Rubber Ducks update. I would like to have that weekly, just start because that's the local minor league team. Just to let you know what they're up
Home
to.
opener.
But Joe Bazana already to a great start there in Akron. He's excited. He said a new journey, a new city, and I was like, I really, really wonder what he thinks of Akron. I mean, he hasn't been here long. But when the weather gets warmer and the crime rate goes up, we'll see how he feels.
Was also not too far from here. He was up the road to Lake County.
Right.
So, I mean, he was more closer to Cleveland than he was Akron.
Right.
So, I mean, he knows the area.
And then if he moves up eventually this year, and it could happen as early as later this year,
yeah,
he'd go down a little south to Columbus.
And that's even worse. You got a city of 1 million people. Don't tell me their crime is as bad as us. It just
a great ballpark though down there. Oh my gosh! Nothing against Canal. I love Canal Park. And Canal Park, we'll go see the new LED screen. Did you hear about that?
No.
They put the money into a whole new scoreboard, the biggest LED screen in the whole minors.
Yeah.
That's gonna look nice.
We'll see. We see it tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll see it. We'll see it tomorrow.
As we're sitting there freezing.
We'll dress for a Browns game, and it'll be.
Are we going to tailgate across the street?
We'll see.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, there's some wild people go to these ball games.
Probably not in the cold.
Not on Tall Boy Tuesday.
They just started that, and it's cold.
Of course, you know my brother and his buddies, they like to go on Thursdays because it's Thirsty Thursdays.
Right.
And I'll probably be there Thursday night too.
Oh, there you go. Well, so something cool happened to the Cleveland Browns last week, Bob. I don't know if you heard about this.
Yeah, I heard about it. Guess what, Pittsburgh? We got more champions than you got.
The NFL owners have voted to allow the AAFL records to stand and hold under the NFL. As a result, the Browns' 4 championships in the AAFL do count.
AFFC.
AFC, yes, excuse me.
American.
I forget who it was, the AAFL.
AFL. The AFL and the NFL merged to become what we got today.
Okay. That's what,
You
okay.
know, the
So it's close.
All American Football Conference. That's what the AAFC was.
Yeah.
And it was a pro league set up in 1946 to compete with the NFL. Well, it did so well that the NFL said these guys are doing. I mean, they were taking NFL players. They were doing so well. They were taking attendance was a lot better than some of the NFL team. So it folded, and San Francisco, Cleveland. I can't remember the other. There's two other ones that left the AFC and became part of.
But then
NFL.
Indianapolis. No, Baltimore.
Baltimore Colts.
Baltimore
Colts.
Yes.
And no, it wasn't Baltimore Colts because the Cleveland Browns 1950 championship beat the Baltimore Colts.
Okay, so it wasn't. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the very first year in the NFL from Cleveland, they won the national championship. They won I can't remember who. I know there was 49ers and the Browns. I can't remember.
I'm pulling stuff up right now.
We'll pull it up now. Anyway, the Browns, they win 4 straight in the AAFC. They go to the NFL in 50 because they pretty much merged. Well, they didn't merge, but they took 3 or 4 of the teams, went to the NFL because. And then, of course, the Browns make it to the playoffs. They're playing the Baltimore Colts in the championship game. Everybody's saying it wasn't. No, maybe it wasn't Baltimore. Maybe it was Detroit. Detroit beat them in the championship game.
I'm gonna have to look that. I'm looking to see.
Anyway, the very first year in the NFL, the Browns win the NFL championship, and everybody said the AFC must have been a pretty good league. And then the
Baltimore was part of it with the. Let's hold on. As 1970 approached 3 NFL teams,
that was the AFL. In '69, the AFL and the NFL they merged and became the American Conference National Conference.
Okay. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, you're going to go to the AAFC, the All American Football Conference. That's from 46 to 49, 1946 to 1949. Of course, Cleveland, like I said, they won 4 straight. Went to the NFL, won the very first NFL. So they won 5 straight championships, if you want to be technical about it. But the Browns, we got more championships than you now, Pittsburgh. Like it or not, because you got Super Bowls. What the Super Bowl is the NFL championship game. They've been playing it since 1920. So.
The Rams, while the Bills, Yankees, and Hornets folded. Bills will eventually come back.
The Cleveland Rams went to L.A.
Right. And it mentions the Browns and the 49ers that the AAFC's 2 strongest teams were obvious choices.
Who were they? Cleveland and San Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole history to this. Oh, my gosh. Let me see.
Yeah, the AFC they took a lot of big-name players from the NFL. It was like with when the AFL started in 1960. They started Larry Zonka and those guys all, Zonka could have went to NFL. I think he was drafted by Buffalo, but he signs with Miami.
Right.
Baltimore, and he signs with Miami.
But anyway, yeah, so those records are now part of the NFL, which means the Browns have 8 championships. Again, no Super Bowls yet. But
the Super Bowl is the NFL championship game. All the Super Bowl is a commercialized version of the
right
for television.
Right.
If that's the case, you're talking about the first Super Bowl was in 1966. The Pro Football Hall of Fame was formed in 1963, 3 years before so-called way football started.
Right.
Which it didn't start then. It started in 1920. The Akron Pros won the very first NFL championship game. Champions. I'm tired of hearing about, they never win a Super Bowl. Yes, they have. They won national championships, which is the exact same thing as a Super Bowl. You win the championship. Period. Like I said, television came along. All of a sudden, you got to sell for ads. You know, we didn't have TV back in the 50s and in the early 60s like we do today. And I'm tired of hearing the Greg, well, you didn't win a Super Bowl. Yes, we did. We won. Now we won 8 of them.
We won 8 championships. Yes, eight good championships. And then it's funny. Throughout all that, so some of our records there are now up there with some of the best of all time. They were mentioning some of Otto Graham's records and his winning percentage and everything. And then Paul Brown's wins during
his winning percentage is really going to shoot up now.
It did. He's like in the top 10 now.
But you got to remember too, when he played, they played less games.
Yeah.
You know, the old AFC played 10 games. All right. I remember when the NFL played 12 games. Now they play in 16 games, you know, or 17 games.
Now, yeah.
You know, you keep adding games to the...
18th's been brought on the table, too. So
you know, it used to be Jimmy Brown, he had 2,000 yard... Well, now, first 2,000-yard rusher was O.J. Simpson. But Jimmy Brown had 1,600 yards rushing in 10 games. They can't even get 1,500 in 17 games anymore.
No, they're always hurt or whatnot.
Well, Jimmy Brown would run over these guys like it was nothing today. Like it or not, I don't give a crap.
A lot of people, Bill Belichick will even back you up on that one.
I know. Jimmy Brown used to carry 5 or 6 guys 10 yards.
I didn't see any specifics, but they were talking about like how did it affect other teams and records and stuff. Ravens had 2 particular rushing records that were completely, not like erased, but were replaced after they added the AFC stats. So you see some other teams were affected. I don't care. I mean, Pittsburgh and Baltimore, I think, took a lot of the heat from adding those records, which is great.
People don't remember Pittsburgh from the 30s, 40s, and 50s was a doormat of the NFL. You wanted if you had a losing streak going, you wanted to play Pittsburgh back in those days. You know, and it wasn't up until the late 70s or early 80s that Pittsburgh finally got into a winning record. You know, they had a losing record most of their career. Of course, now they got winning record, but back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, they were the doormat of the NFL. So,
right. Going back to the Browns, a little modern, a little bit of news, nothing, but because they're preparing for the draft right now. They're getting their 30 prospect visits get ready, and it's very hit or miss because this gives you a taste of who they're looking at, who they're getting a second, third look at, but it doesn't always tell you if they're going to pick them or not. There was a year, it wasn't, it may have been last year, they didn't pick any of the 30 guys they looked at. Okay, the past couple years they've picked at 1, 2. I think there was one year they picked 3. So it's to give you a taste, but it doesn't quite mean they're going to pick them. And the hot topic, of course, is quarterback. And it's come out the Titans are soon going to announce officially they're going to pick Cam Ward out of Miami.
Good.
Because they canceled. They were going to look at Shadir Sanders from Colorado. They canceled that visit, and that probably made it clear. Okay, they're going with Cam Ward. So the Browns are technically on the clock here because the Titans got to officially either announce it or wait to draft day to do it. But you have the idea. This is what they're going to do. So what's next there? It came out this morning, and I didn't know he was involved with the team at all. But do you remember Pat Shurmur?
Yeah.
He's the offensive coordinator for Colorado. I didn't know that. And he was telling teams, he said, if you need a quarterback, Shadir's your guy. He's just going to protect his brother.
Of course, he's going to protect his guys. I mean, he's going to push his guys.
Yeah.
You know, I preferably of the 2 quarterbacks, Sanders and Ward, I'd rather have Ward. That's my opinion.
Ward's got more of that pocket presence and that strong arm there. But I mean, Browns have hosted all their best options for the top 3. They are talking to Mason Graham today from Michigan, defensive tackle, very special player. Too.
I look from the draft a defensive person in the first round.
They might. I'll reveal more closer. We're going to have a draft day show in 2 weeks here, and I will reveal my ideas for that. But I mean, I wouldn't rule out anything right now. But I'm just saying that I find it interesting. Shurmur had made that comment there. They are looking hard at everybody right now, but they also need to make sure that they hit on all these picks because they can't afford a bad draft right now either. So they've had an okay offseason, and I say okay because the quarterback situation's been weird. We had mentioned last week that Haslam admitted Deshaun was a mistake, which now Deshaun's responded a little bit.
I seen that.
Right, yeah. It makes me wonder, because here's the thing, it's looking more and more likely he will still be under contract going into the season. It makes me wonder if they said it also to push him. Just to be like, one last chance. Like, what are you going to do?
I think you should get rid of him.
They were taught...
Take the loss and get rid of him.
I know when they talked about the quarterback room with Stefanski, he only talked about Kenny Pickett. And people are like, are they that sold on him? It's like, I think realistically, he's the only one in the quarterback room they're giving attention to now. The QB room is going to be different going into May. I think you are going to see a veteran signed regardless what happens in the draft. It could be Joe Flacco. Haslam did admit the next day that that's still in the conversation.
I mean, Flacco liked it here. He loved the team. He loved the city. I hated to see him go.
Right. I mean, and something's still going on because you have Nick Chubb and Elijah Moore. Okay, yeah. Not only have they not signed with anybody, they're not talking to anybody. And it's making me believe that they have a deal in place with them, but they're waiting to make sure.
They're waiting to make sure it happens.
That there's some cap room or whatever they need to make happen regarding the quarterback situation. So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting few weeks. We will have a draft day show coming up, like I said, in a couple weeks or so. And we'll mostly talk about the Browns and what they're going to do. But it's very weird to have a team with the number 2 pick overall have a talented roster as they do, but still have all these questions at quarterback and still not be too intrigued by. Like they're looking at these quarterbacks, but they're not like, you could tell. If they're sold on somebody, they're hiding it.
Right.
And I think you have to do that, but we'll see what happens. There's still play to go on. We are out of time. We appreciate everybody listening to the show. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, producer Bob. And next week, we're going to talk about the Cavs. We'll be talking Cavs playoffs regardless what happens, clinching the first seed. But hopefully, by the time you hear this on Tuesday, it's a Wednesday, it's already happened. But, we'll be talking about the Cavs. We'll be talking about the guards of how their past week went. We'll talk about the Rubber Ducks, our experience at the opening day there. And just a lot to look forward to. There was also a quick shout-out. Let me get this. Get this out. Alex Ovechkin, okay, for the Islanders NHL team. Broke Wayne Gretzky's record yesterday. That's a big deal. We don't talk a lot of hockey on here, but that's a big deal. And he did in the same amount of games too.
Exact same amount of games.
Yeah, he's been playing since.
I think he played one more game than Gretzky though. They showed it. I think he had one more game than Gretzky.
Either way,
it's a record that's the great one.
Right, and this guy's been playing since 2004, and it's. It was a big deal yesterday.
He 894 goals.
I think 95 was their new record now.
Yeah. He broke the 894 goal record.
Right. So congratulations to him. Seriously, we don't talk a lot of hockey on here, but that was a big, big deal there. So, all right, we got to wrap up. We'll see you guys next week. And until then, go Cavs, go Guards, go Ducks.